I'm going to tell you every single thing you need to know about moving from an iPhone to an Android phone. Now, it is no secret that the Apple ecosystem and the Android ecosystem have been head-to-head for about a decade. You know, the whole green bubble versus blue bubble problem. But there are some people that want to try something different, something outside their own ecosystem. Now, if that is you, then you have come to the right video. During my research for this video, one thing kept occurring over and over again. A lot of people believe that there is only one type of Android phone in the entire world. And that has been reinforced by Apple comparing the latest iPhone to an Android phone that came out about 10 years ago. Android phones are divided into flagships, mid-range phones, and low-range phones. Flagship phones are on par with the iPhones and have the same price points by and large, and even some Android phones are more expensive than your iPhones. Now, a lot of people associate iPhones with luxury and Android phones for broke people, which is simply untrue. The Galaxy S23 Ultra is $1,200, while the Pixel 7 Pro is $899. Mid-range phones are your Pixel 7s or your Galaxy S23, and so on. These are phones that are between $599 and $799, and they do all the functions of an iPhone 14 or the 14 Pro, and in some situations, even better. Another thing you should know when you're considering going from an iPhone to an Android phone is that Android phones have their own custom user interface. Now, it might be confusing, so let me explain. Android is an open source operating system owned by Google, and they allow multiple companies to use it. Each company then customizes the Android version they get to their own taste. Samsung has One UI, OnePlus is called Oxygen OS, and the Google Pixel has Pixel OS or stock Android. They call it stock Android because it's in its purest form. It feels like I'm talking about cocaine. For the purpose of this video, I'll stick to Samsung and the Pixel devices. Samsung has One UI and has been the most consistent version of Android for a long time. Personally, it's not my favorite by a long mile, but it does have a few things that I like about it. Now, one of the best things about One UI is its ability to be very customizable. I have a lock screen widget to see if I have any schedules or alarms, and you can then design it to what you prefer. If you're into applying themes and not installing a third-party launcher, Samsung has different themes that you can choose from depending on your aesthetics, and you can also change the icons if the stock icons are not really your taste. Now, personally, I'm a simple person when it comes to my home screen. I just love a colorful wallpaper, 3 or 4 essential icons on my screen, and I then color code my apps for easier access. When it comes to the Pixel, Google is a software company, and it is no surprise that they have leaned very hard into what they're good at. It has remarkable AI features like Magic Eraser to remove unwanted objects or people, Photo Unblur that makes blurry pictures clearer even the older pictures you took in the past, voice dictation on the Recorder app to take notes online and offline, and you can also use Google Translate when you're abroad if you do not understand the language, and that translates into how it performs. The next thing you should know when moving from iOS to Android is the voice assistant. Now, the iPhone has Siri, and over the years, Siri has developed into one of the best assistants that is out there. Now, with iOS 17 that is incoming, you can then have conversations with Siri without actually saying, "Hey Siri," which is great. However, the Google Assistant on Android edges the Siri by a long stretch. You can have conversations with it, and you can ask it questions amongst many prompts that Siri is not just open to yet. And with an update on the Pixel and the Google Assistant, you have different voice options to choose from that sound a lot more human as opposed to a computer or, AI. Which is very nice. Next up, we have the most controversial part of this debate itself, and that is the camera. Now, there is a myth that happened a couple of years ago, and I think that has informed how many people view the cameras on an Android phone till today. Now, remember when Snapchat first came out and it was bad on Android phones no matter what you did? Yeah, that was a real tough period if you had an Android phone. Now, the problem was that the Snapchat app on Android phones was basically using a screenshot of the camera and not the actual camera itself. Hence why it kept getting subpar videos and pictures. Over the years, Samsung has worked with Snapchat and TikTok to make sure the camera within the app utilizes the actual sensors and not a screenshot. Also, a hot take, if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know, but the Android phones like the Pixel 7 or the Pixel 7 Pro or the Galaxy S23 series takes better pictures than the iPhones. And as a dark-skinned Nigerian man, I lean towards the Pixels because Google has figured out how to get my actual skin tone in pictures, and they just don't generalize how many people are supposed to look like. Now, if I take a selfie with my iPhone, it makes me darker for some weird reason. So if you're reluctant to switch because you're worried about the cameras aren't going to blow your mind, trust me, they will. Okay, let's talk about ecosystems. This is where Apple has found an advantage over other OEMs. Now, over the years, Apple developed their own ecosystem, essentially finding a way for all their devices to communicate with themselves seamlessly with minimal lags or latency. That being said, Samsung and the Pixel ecosystem are not far behind in that regard. Now, just like Apple, you need to buy all their products, the laptops, the earphones, and so on. I also know that leaving the Apple ecosystem is tough, but it doesn't hurt to try something different. Finally, this one always gets me laughing. Now, stop me if you've heard this before. iPhones do certain tasks and apps better than Androids, or Androids don't have certain features that the iPhones have. Truth is, anything an iPhone can do, an Android can also do, and sometimes even better. I just want to say the iPhones are the best phones in the world. I mean, we have FaceTime, something Android phones do not have. While that is true, Androids have their own messaging platform called Rich Communication Services, or RCS for short. This allows Android phones to send messages to themselves just like iMessage, and we can also send messages to other iPhones too. I'm sure you didn't know that. Okay, whatever. I know for a fact you guys do not have FaceTime. You know those video calls have to be crispy as fuck. Again, that is true, but this is 2023, not 2013. Video calling is not exactly the newest invention, and there are other apps that already do it, like WhatsApp, Telegram, Google Duo, and many more. Even Instagram does video calling, so it's not exactly a new feature that you should be bragging about. What about AirDrop? I know you guys don't have that because you guys are using all your USB connections and whatnot. AirDrop is just the best thing that ever happened to Apple and the iPhone. Yes, we don't have AirDrop, but we have Nearby Share that allows us to send pictures, videos, and documents to any Android phone in the world. And I must admit, it's not as fast as AirDrop, but it works for us. So you see, the idea that Apple is ahead of everybody in terms of features and Android are like 10 years behind is very inaccurate. One more thing. Another reason to move from iOS to Android is freedom. Freedom to express yourself however you want without being bound to one ecosystem. Look, I have an iPhone and I have an Android phone. I understand both parties and how it feels, and it's why I encourage everyone to try something new. You never know what you might find on the other side. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions about switching from one ecosystem to the other, comment down below and I'll be happy to help. My name is KJOS, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.